So I'd like to show you how to get into R Studio and to get into the swirl lessons. So we're starting here from the Lehman homepage, and I'm going up to login. You can do either Lehman 360 or Lehman 1. I tend to do Lehman 360. You're logging in with the same username and password that you used to get your Lehman email. Your screen here may look different than mine. I don't know if there are differences between faculty and students, but where I go is to the apps. You can see there's a button for it over here on the left-hand side, and you can also just see right here on the screen there's a Lehman Apps section. And so within the Lehman Apps, just keep scrolling. R Studio is typically toward the end, and you can see it's right here. It's just a blue circle with an R. So we're going to click that, and then it's going to ask us to log in again. Unfortunately, we haven't found a way to skip this step, so you're going to log in using the exact same Lehman login that you did a moment ago. So the username that you use for your Lehman email and the password that you use. Okay, your screen is likely going to look different than mine, but let me stretch this out a little bit so you can see better. And where we're going to be working is down here in this bottom section called the console. Okay, so don't worry about any of the text that's already in there. We're going to just be in this bottom console section. Make sure that you have a little arrow cursor and a blinking little cursor there. And the first thing we're going to do is type library and in parentheses the word swirl. Now it's really important that you write it exactly as I put it here, all lowercase, and then right next to the end of the word library you have the parentheses. There's no space or anything in between, and then you have the word swirl. So we type that and hit enter. And then you might get a message after that saying, type swirl to continue. I, for some reason, didn't. But regardless, the next step that you want to take in order to get into swirl is to type the word swirl and then two empty parentheses next to it. So just to briefly tell you, these commands, the first word you're typing is what action you want to happen, and then what's in parentheses is where you want the action to happen, or the object of the action. So when we said library swirl, we were saying pull the swirl program out of the data library so we can use it. And then we're saying we're going to use swirl, but we didn't specify exactly what. That's what we're going to do in the next step. So we hit swirl, and because I've been playing around with it, I get the question, would you like to continue with one of these lessons? And it's a bunch of different lessons that I've already started. You may get a different screen than I do, and I'll show you what you will most likely get. So I'm going to go with no, let me start something new. The selection here is always the number that is next to what your choice is. So I'm choosing 6, let me start something new. Okay, and then you're likely to land on this menu when you first log into Swirl. You have the choice of 1, Sociology Swirl, and 2, Take Me to the Swirl course repository. we want to check Sociology Swirl because those are the lessons that have been made specifically for Soc 345. So we're choosing 1. And now you see all of the different tutorials that are available for you to work on to practice with R and get more familiar with it. So the very first one, Welcome to R, is our first lesson. I'll just briefly open it so you can get an idea about what these entail. So I'm choosing 1. It's going to be loading some things on its own. You don't need to worry about it. It's just, again, sort of background loading. And then you see the format of these swirls are you read along and you do what the program asks you to do. So here we see in this lesson, we're going to learn some basics about R and R Studio. You see over on the right-hand side, there's going to be a percentage that lets us know how far along we are in the lesson. And then when you see 3 dots at the bottom of the screen, that means to hit the Enter key to continue. Okay, so I'm hitting Enter, and then we get the next piece of information. R is the computer language we will use for doing statistical analyses and working with data. Again, we have 3 dots, so we just hit Enter and continue again. And so you would go through the lesson, being careful with your typing if you're ever asked to type anything in. The other thing you really want to make sure is that you've actually completed the lesson. So you'll get to 100%, but you also want to see on the screen the message, you have completed this lesson, because that's the message that then registers for me in my software that you've completed the swirl assignment. Hopefully this helps you to navigate R Studio and Swirl a little more. If you need any assistance or have any questions, absolutely let me know.